First, I want to give you a little confidence. It's really not that difficult to create a cover that will stand up to the big boys. We'll start by looking at covers of books of best-selling books on Amazon today. Here's a list of some of the best-selling trade paperbacks in fiction. Your 6x9 qualifies as a trade paperback. Statistics show that your book cover will have from 1 to 3 seconds to grab the attention of the viewer. There are 3 elements that need to show up. 1 is the title, 2 is the author, and 3 is the image. Not necessarily in that order. Most trade paperbacks are what we call type-driven. In other words, you read the text, either the title or the author's name, before you see the image. It's up to you as the designer to control what the viewer sees first. There are several ways you can do that. We usually read from top to bottom, so most likely something at the top of the page will cause more attention than something at the bottom. Large, bright, and bizarre objects ask for attention, and so does a circular object, particularly a face, if the eyes are looking straight at you. In Stephen King's book, the first thing we see is the name of the author. The image quickly points you to the name of the book. In The Tattooist of Auschwitz, first you see the title, then you see the image, and then the author. But I think the designer of the Margaret Atwood book blew it. Graphically, it's pretty cool, but it doesn't follow our marketing principles very well. You read the name of the author first, but the image acts like an arrow and points back to the author's name, so you kind of go in circles before you read the title, which is teeny at the bottom of the page. I think this cover is the perfect marketing example. You can't resist looking at this face that stares straight at you, even if you didn't know what Steve Jobs looked like. And then his head points upward, so as you logically read from top to bottom, you read the title and then the name of the author. Here are some best sellers in the nonfiction category that sell both as print and ebooks. Which one to you asks to be looked at first? I've placed little target symbols over the book covers. The center would be what you would see within the first second, and then where your eye would go from there. The trick is not to have 2 objects competing for attention. You don't want the viewer's eye to be confused for even 1 second. Are they going to look at the title first, the image first? You control that. Where should they look first? The cover for Why We're Polarized in the bottom right-hand corner doesn't even have an image at all. It's white text against a black background. It's applicable because polarization is about black and white. But the reason I think it's important to this video is that you really don't need expensive illustrations and photography to make a decent cover. You do, however, need high-quality images when you use them and high-quality type. That said, children's books rely on very good illustrations. And how-to books usually need some sort of image that tells you what the book is about. If you're doing a children's book or a how-to book, you should probably hire a professional designer. But the purpose of this video is to give people, such as genealogists or maybe homeless people who want to tell their story, a way to write a book that maybe won't sell hundreds and thousands of copies, but you still want it to have a professional look. Some people manipulate type and that becomes their image. I'm going to recommend that unless you have some experience in design and art, that you don't try this. You'll probably be better off by just using good old-fashioned, well-designed typography. Here are some of my favorites. Here are some don'ts. Don't waste the viewer's valuable time and your valuable space by repeating something in your image that you already said in your title. Don't waste your precious 3 seconds by letting the title, the author's name, and the image compete with each other. In these 3 titles, it's very confusing what to look at first. And in the middle example, the image makes the text very hard to read. Don't get funky with type. Choose a typeface that correctly reflects your subject, but don't start playing with it. Don't shade it, don't outline it, don't gradate it. Remember, you want people to read your text and move on. And finally, don't direct the view off the page. Notice how the faces on the right look right at you and demand your attention, but the 4 images on the left look off the page. Doesn't work quite so well. Let's do a little comparison. Here are 3 books about the same subject. A man named Stephen Hopkins, who sailed to Jamestown in 1609 and on the Mayflower in 1620. The one on the left was recently published in 2020 by a professional publisher. The one in the middle was self-published by Caleb Johnson. He used a different print-on-demand company from Amazon called Ex Libris. And the book on the right was published by an independent publisher in 2019, which probably means it was self-published too. The book on the left follows our simple format. You see the image first, the title, the subtitle, and then the author. In the middle book, you read the title first, and then you see the boat, and then you see the part of the title, and then you see Stephen Hopkins, and then you see the author. Very confusing. The type treatment is distracting, and the subtitle is really hard to read. I happen to know that Caleb spent a ton of money, over $1,000, on that painting. The image on the left is an old painting, a well-known painting, and it's in public domain, so anyone can use it. The cover on the right has used text that is way too thin and hard to read. They've placed some of it, like Stephen Hopkins and the date, over a very confusing background, which makes it also hard to read. And the image in the center, which is appropriate because it gives you that target look, is just too hard to make out. It takes you too long to figure out what it is. I've outlined in yellow Amazon's ratings, and you'll see that even though the book on the left is the new kid on the block, it has a much higher rating than the other 2. Just for the record, though, it was Caleb Johnson who did all the research to find out about Stephen Hopkins, and he includes a lot of other documents in his book, such as Hopkins's will, that you can't find in other books. So buy that one. The point is, keep it simple, silly. Use well-designed type and place your 3 elements in the order in which you wish people to see them. Okay, we've got 2 more videos coming up. One is 7 steps to take before uploading your book file to Amazon's KDP. And then finally, we'll show you how to use KDP's Cover Creator. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, write them in the comments section below.